And that's a repeated theme throughout the gospel. Peter takes up the sword to fight for Jesus. Jesus rebukes him. Pilate challenges Jesus. Jesus says, "My kingdom is not of this world." Jesus has not come to establish a political realm through physical force. And this, of course, is immensely important for us Christians here in England and the West in the early 21st century. You see, when you go back to the fundamentals of the Christian faith, you find no violence. In fact, I think I would want to go so far as to say that fundamentalism is not necessarily wrong. Because the media and our political masters don't really think very clearly about these things, or maybe they daren't think about them. I suspect that's more likely. They talk about fundamentalism as if fundamentalism is essentially wrong, or extremism as if extremism is essentially wrong. Is extremism essentially wrong? To be extremely loving, or extremely just, or extremely kind, or fundamentally good. So fundamentalism is only wrong if the fundamentals which you want to be fundamental about are in themselves essentially evil. But when you come to Jesus, if you get fundamental about Jesus, you have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. He hasn't come to establish a political realm by force. He didn't march on the city of his choice in order to impose submission. He's the King of love. And to be a fundamentalist Christian, to be extremely Christian, is to say I'm really serious about love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Extremism for the Christian, I would suggest, is really rather a wonderful thing. I was sitting on a plane. I don't like going on planes very much, but every now and then I have to, and it's always nice because you see friends at the other end and there are good things to do. But I was sitting on a plane and I sat next to this bloke who was head of security at a big Canadian bank. And he'd come over here to a conference on terrorism. And I didn't let on what I did for a living. And I thought, well, we'll just see whether he's done any thinking and whether he thinks straight. And so I said to him, do you think fundamentalism is necessarily a bad thing? Oh, yes, of course it is. I said, what about if the fundamentals about which you want to be fundamental are good? I've never thought of that. You see, to be fundamentally secularist, well, if you take the secularist principles to their extreme, it's pretty dangerous. Look at Pol Pot. To be fundamental about, let's choose your own religion, you go back and have a look at the fundamentals of the religion. And if in the fundamentals they have you marching on this and taking that by force, then fundamentalism is seriously not a good thing at all. It's pretty rugged and you might even say bad. But when you come back to Jesus and you find actually his kingdom is not of this world, he's the King of love. He didn't come to impose his will by force. He didn't kind of force political things and lifestyles on people. Then you say, well, is it necessarily a bad thing? Surely it's rather a good thing. So this is hugely important, isn't it? Of course, some Christians have got it horribly wrong and have resorted to violent means in order to advance their political goal. But you come to chapter 6 and verse 15 and you say they were acting in an unchristian manner.